August 14th, 2018 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Elkoffer? Here. Mr. Ansello? Here. Mr. Baroth? Here. Ms. Boyce is excused. Mr. Brew? Here. President Carbone?
Here.
Mrs. Conley? Here. Mr. Delahanty? Here. Mrs. DeFlorio? Here. Mrs. Draw? Here. Mr. Felder? Here. Mr. Flagler Mitchell? Here. Ms. Harris? Here. Mr. Hebert? Here. Mr. Howland? Here. Ms. Cayley? Mr. Lightfoot? Mr. Mafucci? Here. Mr. Marionetti? Here. Mr. Michike? Here. Mr. Morelli? Here. Mr. Moyo? Here. Mr. Rocco? Here. Mr. Shepard? Here. Ms. Taylor? Here. Mr. Terp? Here. Mr. Wilcox? Here. Mr. Wilt? Here. Mr. Zal? Here. Ms. Cayley? Mr. Lightfoot? Thank you.
Please stay seated. I'd like to introduce Reverend Dr. Stephen Cady II of Asbury First United Methodist Church, who has been invited by Legislator Howard Mafucci to lead us in a moment of prayer.
Thank you so much for having me. I thought, given all that is going on in the world and all the division right now, I thought I just might pause to remind us for a moment of another time when people were divided, and they turned to a young woman named Emma Lazarus who wrote a poem for an ambitious project designed to remind us of why it is that we're together. And so, if you'll take this poem as your blessing. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gate shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beaconed hand glows worldwide welcome, her mild eyes command that air-bridged harbor which twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. That wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. May God bless us as we struggle to live into the ideal we proclaim. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. A little momentum. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Okay. Please stand as Legislator Joshua Baroth will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Legislator Baroth.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I ask you to remain standing. Without objection, we will take agenda item number 20 out of the regular agenda order. Agenda item 20 is moved by Legislator Marionetti and seconded by Legislator Cayley. I'd like to invite the family of Ms. Trippi and the County Executive Cheryl Donalfo to join me at the podium as the clerk reads the resolution in memoriam for Florence Trippi.
Expressing regret of the Monroe County Legislature on the recent passing of Florence Flo Trippi, the longest-serving Monroe County employee. Be it resolved that the Monroe County Legislature hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the recent passing of Florence Flo Trippi, the longest-serving Monroe County employee. And whereas Flo passed away on July 18, 2018, at the age of 79, after a courageous battle with cancer. And whereas Flo was born on August 7, 1938, to Joseph and Phyllis Trippi. As the oldest of 4 children, she served as a role model to her younger siblings. At the age of 16, she graduated from Benjamin Franklin High School and enrolled in the Rochester Business Institute, where she earned an associate's degree as a medical secretary. On July 8, 1968, she was hired by the Monroe County Health Department. And whereas, after being hired by Monroe County, Flo became involved in the labor movement, and by the 1980s, she was serving in leadership positions, including president of the CSEA Monroe County Unit 7400. She also served on New York State AFL-CIO and other community and work-related boards. Flo became CSEA Regional President in 2000, where she served in that capacity for 18 years, retiring in 2018, with exactly 50 years of county service. She was a proud Red Wings season ticket holder and devoted New York Yankees fanatic. And whereas Flo is survived by her brother Salvatore, sister-in-law Carol, brother-in-law David, 2 nephews, David and Joseph, 5 nieces, Terry, Dara, Nicole, Gina, and Shannon, 17 great-nieces and nephews, several cousins, many friends, and all CSEA members. She will be missed by all who knew and loved her. And whereas Flo will be remembered for her dedication, activism, and indomitable spirit, Flo touched many lives during her long term of service. Now therefore be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature is hereby directed to forward a copy of this resolution to the bereaved family. This resolution was adopted unanimously, with each legislator rising in his or her place for a moment of silence.
Madam County Manager, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the legislation, members of the CSEA who are here tonight, and all the union people, from the Trippi and Bonneville clan, I humbly accept this for a great lady. And hopefully she's looking down right now and saying there's a lot to be done. And I know you all can do it. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, and again, from the whole Trippi clan. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you can be seated. Your copy of the Journal of Day 8, July 10th, 2018 is available on your tablet. Without exception, the Journal will stand approved as submitted. There is a hearing loop in place tonight to assist those who are hearing impaired. Anyone requiring assistance should inquire in the clerk's office.
If you have a cellular phone, pager, or other electronic devices in your possession, I would request that you make it inaudible for the duration of the meeting. Thank you for your cooperation.
Legislators, the referrals submitted to the legislature for the next committee cycle are available on your tablet as well as online. At this time, I would like to welcome County Executive Cheryl Donalfo to the podium for a special awards presentation. She's out in the hallway. Can I get her?
This evening, I have the pleasure of awarding a very special award to a youth advocate. Earlier this year, we had our youth awards ceremony where we honored so many inspirational young people from throughout the county of Monroe. And I want to first of all thank all of my partners in government, our fellow legislators who are here, who were so great in nominating youth from throughout the county of Monroe to celebrate their great accomplishments. And I know that we would all agree that to have our young people stand up and be great role models is truly inspirational. It keeps this county moving forward. And I have to tell you that is one of the most inspirational ceremonies that we have all year long. And I thank my partners in government for bringing these young men and women to the forefront and celebrating their accomplishments. So thank you so much for that. At the same time, that evening, we also recognized adults who have served in various capacities to help our young people become all that they can be. And we also, at that time, recognize one youth advocate who really has gone above and beyond, and we see a number of people who certainly fill that bill. In many, many ways, our parents, our guardians, our teachers, our pastors all help us throughout life. But I will tell you, the evening of our Youth Awards ceremony, I did have the pleasure of announcing the winner of the Youth Advocate of the Year Award. And this evening, I would like to present this gentleman to you and to present a plaque to our award recipient, and also to discuss a little bit about what this man has done in our community. So let me at this time invite Jason Reese to the podium to join me. Jason, come on up. I know Jason is a humble guy, so you come up here. We're going to talk about Jason and his great accomplishments. The winner of the County Executive's Youth Advocate of the Year Award for 2018 is Jason Rees. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you Jason. He has been an integral part in leading the way at the Churchville-Chiley High School First Robotics team. I know his team is here, and I know that they're going to join us in a moment as well. Jason has been operating the First Robotics team and guiding and mentoring the team members for over 19 years. That's 19 years of dedicating himself to the young students, the young men and women at Churchville-Chiley. He puts in countless hours to help these young people not only be successful at the First Robotics team in the competition, but really to be successful in life. For those who have been involved in First Robotics, and I know that we have a number of our members of our legislature who have also coached teams, I'm sure that they know, and you know as well, what it means to be a member of a First Robotics team. So we're talking about the STEM research, the STEM the STEM educational process, and they are very involved in that. First Robotics Team 340 out of Churchville-Chiley has led the way. These students not only have been successful in their STEM education classes and their First Robotics teams, they have gone on to do phenomenal things in life. These are the men and women, the young men and women who go on and lead the way, not only here in Monroe County, but they lead the way in their classes, they lead the way in their neighborhoods, they lead their way in their colleges, and they come back to be leaders in Monroe County. Jason has been a tremendous advocate for these students to make sure that they're successful and to make sure that our community remains solid with great young people going on to do wonderful things. So on behalf of a grateful county of Monroe, I am pleased to present the Willie W. Lightfoot Youth Advocate Award, the County Executives Award, to Jason Rees for his dedication and selfless contributions to the growth and for the inspiration of science and technology First Robotics teams throughout Monroe County, while serving as a mentor to those students to encourage and pursue STEM education. Congratulations to Jason and to all those at the Churchville-Chiley Central School District. Jason. Jason is going to address the audience, and I'd like his team to come up as well. I know that you have a number of supporters who are here who have done such great things. Come on up. They're not going to come up?
My kids want to hide.
I know you're there. I see the shirts. I'd also ask that President Carbone and Legislator Tracy DeFlorio and Legislator Mike Zale also join us at the podium for the presentation of the awards as well. I know that Tracy and Mike and Dr. Joe Carbone have been huge supporters of First Robotics, and I know that they've all worked with young students. I know that your kids have been involved as well, and so you're very proud. Tracy, this is your team, isn't it?
My daughter was on the middle school team. She made it to the high school team.
Well, she's something to look forward to, and I can see that you're going to be volunteering and helping out Jason as well. So congratulations again, and thank you to all of the members of the legislature for supporting our young people in this community. We are stronger because of the dedication of people like Jason and all of the mentors who have helped these kids along the way. So another round of applause for Jason, and Jason, the podium is yours.
Believe it or not, I prefer to hide behind the scenes and let the kids do all the talking, so this is a little bit uncomfortable for me. I'd first like to thank County Executive D'Onofrio for the presentation, and the executives, not executives, you see why I don't like legislators. Thank you for the nomination. And again, it really wouldn't be possible if it wasn't my students and the mentors and all the kids past and present that have made this such an easy thing to do. And last but not least, the namesake to the award, the Willie Lightfoot Award is just, it's thank you for having it something that people can astound to try to be. Again, thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
This evening, there are several proclamations scheduled. Madam Clerk.
Would George Haynes please come forward? Also, President Dr. Joe Carbone, County Executive Cheryl D'Onofrio, and Legislator Fred Ansello. The Gary Sinise Foundation was established in 2011 to honor and recognize the men and women currently serving in the United States military, our veterans, first responders, and all the families of these brave citizens. The Soaring Valor Flight was created by the Foundation to specifically honor the sacrifices of those who served in the Second World War. This program takes World War II veterans and their guardians on a trip to the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. And whereas George Haynes, a resident of Monroe County and World War II veteran, was determined to bring soaring valor to our local veterans. After his grandson, Matt Burton, connected with the Gary Sinise Foundation and advocated for why Monroe County and veterans deserve to have the opportunity to participate, the Foundation asked George and Matt to put together a Soaring Valor Flight for World War II veterans in their hometown. And whereas George is a regular volunteer at Unity Hospital, where he has volunteered over 35,000 hours. In April of 2017, he started to meet with World War II veterans at Unity and urged them to participate in Soaring Valor. With the help of his dear friend, Gene Kelly, George was able to connect with dozens of veterans in the community. After over a year of hard work, over 30 World War II veterans gathered at the Greater Rochester International Airport on July 25th to participate in a Soaring Valor flight along with their guardians. And whereas through his hard work and dedication, George has provided the World War II veterans of Monroe County with an outstanding service. His giving spirit and his willingness to serve others has lasted for his entire life. George has gone beyond the call of duty by organizing the very first Soaring Valor flight at the Greater Rochester International Airport. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl Denolfo County Executive, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and Fred Ansello, Legislator, District 6, on behalf of Monroe County, do hereby recognize and congratulate George Haynes on bringing Soaring Valor flight to Monroe County to honor our veterans.
Thank you. Like I said, I couldn't have done it without Jean. I got stuck. I couldn't find any more World War II vets. Called Jean. She took the bull by the horns, and we ended up with 29 vets, and one woman that worked in the factories during the war. She was just as deserving as anybody else. We had a full crew going down, and there's the boys right in the back. They'll all tell you that it was worth it. But thank you very much. And if we can do it again, we will.
Would Carl R. Thielking please come forward? Also President Dr. Joe Carbone and Legislator Howard Mafucci. Whereas it is the sense of this legislature to honor individuals whose efforts add to the quality of life and the betterment of others across Monroe County. And whereas, attendant to such concern and in full accord with long-standing tradition, these legislators are justly proud to honor Carl R. Thielking. And whereas, Carl was born and raised in North Syracuse. He received a Bachelor of Arts degree in General Science and a Master of Science degree in Science Curriculum from the University of Rochester, and a Certificate of Advanced Study in Educational Administration from the State University College at Brockport. He taught high school science in Williamson and Fairport before beginning his administrative career in Greece as a high school assistant principal, then as a high school principal. He accepted the high school principal position at Pittsford Mendon High School in 2000, where he spent the next 18 years, retiring this past school year. And whereas Carl has served in various boards, committees, and coalitions over the years, supporting public education, including the National Association of School Principals, the School Administrators Association of New York State, the Monroe County Principals Association, and the Pittsford District Administrators Association. He was active in community groups, including Parents Do Care of Pittsford, Pittsford Town Community Forum, Pittsford Intermunicipal Opportunities Committee, and the Boy Scouts of America Oceana Council. And whereas, in retirement, Carl will engage in educational consulting to promote the professional growth of education leaders and have more time with his wife, Sue, a retired Rochester City School District School of the Arts special education teacher. his son Chris, a theatrical lighting designer on Broadway and member of the Broadway Lighting Designers Union, and his wife. Now therefore, let it be known that we, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, Howard Mafucci, Legislator District 10, and Carla Boyce, Legislator District 5, do hereby honor Carl Thielking for his contributions to our community upon his retirement on this 14th day of August 2018.
So Howard never told me I was going to say something. And it's always a dangerous thing to put a principal, a high school principal, in front of a group of people with a microphone. So I'll make it very simple. What I do, I do because it matters. Because it's something that I devoted myself to, and I continue to devote myself to. But more importantly, it is something, I guess, I'll put it simply, I accept this proclamation, but on behalf of all of my colleagues, all of the school administrators, public school administrators throughout Monroe County who are dedicated educators and who simply love children. So thank you, and keep supporting our public education.
Would Tony Stevens Oliver please come forward? Also President Dr. Joe Carbone, County Executive Cheryl Donalfo, and Legislator Howard Mafucci. The knowledge of any student is dependent on the dedication and hard work of his or her teachers. School veteran projects are specifically designed to inspire American students to become lifelong learners and lovers of our country's veterans. The book Veterans' Voices has inspired students to bridge the generation gap between young people and our local veterans under the leadership of Tony Stevens Oliver. And whereas, through the book Veterans' Voices, Tony Stevens Oliver and her fourth grade students at Thornell Road Elementary School have found a creative way to connect students with local veterans. A 30-page recently published book, Veterans' Voices, features biographies and wartime stories of almost 24 local veterans. After interviewing 23 members of Pittsford's Rayson Miller American Legion Post 899, the students spent a few weeks writing, rewriting, editing, and polishing their stories for publication. And whereas through this project, Tony encouraged fourth graders to form personal relationships between local senior veterans. Through publishing their stories, the students were able to take those personal relationships and share them with the entire Monroe County community. Tony has served as a positive role model for her students, all while helping these children develop an appreciation for local veterans and their sacrifices. And whereas Monroe County is lucky to have a teacher who works tirelessly to help students reach their full potential in and out of the classroom, Tony is commended for closing the generation gap between students and veterans and teaching students about the importance of service, friendship, and patriotism. Now, therefore, we, Cheryl Donalfo County Executive, Dr. Joe Carbone, President, and Howard Mafucci, Legislator District 10, on behalf of the entire Monroe County Legislature, do hereby recognize and congratulate Tony Stevens Oliver for her dedication to the students of Thornell Road Elementary and our local veterans.
I just want to say thank you very much to everyone. We appreciate it. It's an honor to have facilitated a great project with an awesome group of students and an amazing group of veterans. I have with me Al Herklotz, who is the commander of the Rayson Miller Post, and it was through his leadership and my principal, Roger Stabell, that we were able to put all this together during our school year, and an amazing group of kids, most of whom are at summer camp or on vacation. So I was glad to have the few we have here today to celebrate with us, because they worked super hard on this project. And I'm going to ask, we're going to donate a copy of the book to the legislator. We hope you all have a chance to pass it around and read it so that you can learn some of the stories of our local veterans. Thank you.
We will now recess for the purpose of holding a public hearing. I declare open the public hearing on Resolution Intro Number 210 of 2018, entitled Approving Increase and Improvement of Facilities in Rochester Pure Waters District, Frank E. Van Laer Wastewater Treatment Plant Aeration System Improvements.
There are no speakers registered for this hearing.
There being none, I declare this public hearing closed. I will now reconvene the August 14th, 2018 meeting of the Monroe County Legislature. There are no formal committee reports scheduled for this evening. We will now hold a public forum. We have several people registered to address the legislature. Madam Clerk.
If you require assistance, a deputy is available to assist you in approaching the lectern. I will call 3 people forward at one time. Each speaker will have 2 minutes in which to address the legislature, and kindly conclude your remarks when the timer sounds and exit through the back of the chambers. Thank you for your cooperation. Our first 3 speakers will be Jonathan Dahlhaupt, Paul Frisella, and Nelson Aquilano.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Dahlhaupt. I am the Deaf Systems Advocate for RCIL, the Regional Center for Independent Living here in Rochester. And I wanted to talk mainly about communication access for deaf and hard of hearing community. And I wanted to say, first off, that this is the largest deaf and hard of hearing community that we have in the U.S. per capita, just in Rochester. So I'm talking primarily, this might go a little bit longer, but I'm primarily talking recently we had fireworks cancellation. I want to say this was 1-2 years ago, something suspected of terrorism, so that was canceled. And so then we had the windstorm last year in March, kind of threw things off with emergency preparedness. And then we had Cheryl D'Onofrio came up and made some comments to the public. Unfortunately, there was no interpreter present on screen. And so deaf and hard of hearing community were at a loss as to why these things were canceled, what the emergency announcements are. Upon contacting D'Onofrio's office, we finally got an interpreter present within any announcement. But unfortunately, the interpreter was standing way off screen, and the TV cameras were focusing primarily on Cheryl D'Onofrio, but there was we had no access, not being able to see the interpreter. Again, contacting the office, we requested a meeting with the Director of Communications. I forgot the guy's name. William and Camber, I can't think of what their name was. They no longer have their position. So we tried to contact and set up a meeting. And after a few attempts and emails back and forth, they refused to meet with us. All right, so I'm asking the legislature now to please set up some type of a policy pointed at communication for deaf and hard of hearing community that we have here. The interpreter can stand next to the speaker, the executive director, or whoever is making their presentation to address the public. So that is my address. Thank you.
I am Paul Frisella. few years ago, I wrote a letter to the Monroe County Executive's Office, and as of now, I have not heard back at all. This is despite several follow-up calls with that office. I have been deliberately ignored, and my time has been wasted. The service of the county is poor, and I encourage all voters here to vote appropriately at the next county executive election.
My name is Nelson Aquilano. I'm a licensed social worker, and I hold master's degrees in social work, in public administration, and in counseling. I've worked for the last 40 years in the field of addictions, and I'm a resident of Penfield. I'm here today to warn of a critical issue that will be devastating to our youth and families. Yes, we have an opioid epidemic, but we will get through this. But on the horizon is another epidemic no one sees coming, and this will make our current drug problems pale in significance. As we speak, Governor Cuomo is putting together legislation to legalize recreational marijuana in New York State. As a professional, but more so as a parent and a grandparent, I am telling you this will destroy our families. I am here to ask the county executive to bring to the New York State Association of Counties a directive from this body to strike this down before it develops any further. I am asking the district attorney, the sheriff, and the commissioner of human services to take this to their respectful organizations. More importantly, I'm asking this body to take a proactive stance by passing legislation before the fact to prohibit any recreational marijuana sales and distribution stores in Monroe County. Marijuana is no longer the 1 to 3% THC as it was in the 60s. It is high as 90% now. From 9 to 16% of people become addicted to it, and people have told me it's harder to quit marijuana than cocaine. Today we have over 12,000 New Yorkers with a primary diagnosis of cannabis dependence in treatment and tens of thousands more with a secondary diagnosis. Marijuana is underestimated as a powerful psychoactive drug of addiction, but the real problem is that Cuomo and the downstate politicians are driving this policy without any understanding of the long-term implications. Please do not let that happen. Our children cannot suffer any more dysfunction. Thank you.
Our next three speakers are David Attridge, Joel Shapiro, and Bridget Hurley.
Hi, good evening, and thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Been here a couple times, so starting to see some familiar faces. My name is Dave Attridge. I'm from Recovery Now, Gates to Recovery. I'm the executive director for it. One of the reasons that we came out tonight was to notify you of what we're doing and some of the different things that we are doing with this opioid crisis that is going on. One of the latest things right now that we are doing is we found a lack of protocol within a lot of the hospitals right now, to where people are being after an overdose, people are being discharged with no information, being just sent on their way. In fact, some of these people we found are within 2 or 3 overdoses a day, still being sent out with no information, no referrals, anything. So what we've done to try and simplify that whole thing is actually, and you'll all receive one of these, is we just sort of came up with a recovery first aid kit, which is we've taken 5 different 5 different treatment centers that we have partnerships with, everyone from Huther Doyle to Recovery Fitness, just to be able to see if the hospitals will be able to hand these to these people as they're leaving. And at least it gives them some options, somewhere to turn, somewhere to call, somewhere just to hear. We have the 24-hour hotline, which my group has run for quite some time now, and they can call right then, and we can start to get them on the avenue of recovery. So these are just some things that we're doing to try and simplify things, and make it as easy as possible. We didn't want to shove in 64 different companies to call, so we kept it down to like 5 or 6 right in here. And I think you'll find there's a lot of information in here that you didn't know about. So we ask for your support on this, and on this, mass crisis that we've had. Thank you. There was one last thing I wanted to say real quick. Tonight, watching the news, I was really, really impressed with how the Office of Emergency Preparedness there had everything going for the flooding that's going down in Lodi, which there have been no deaths yet as far as that goes. But I ask, that's the type of command center that we need right now for this opioid crisis, seeing that we've lost over 400, 800 people, depends on how many years you go back. That's the type of command center that we need. That's the type of thing that will make some action on this. That will decrease our numbers. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joel Shapiro. I'm going to talk fast, got a lot of ground to cover. This is 20 milligrams of water. If you convert that in ambient temperature, which this is 20 milligrams. That's enough to kill an elephant. You fill this up, you can kill all of Canada, 50 million people. That means that Canada has 35 million people, Toronto and Montreal together, and you still have more to kill people with something called carfentanil, which we do not track in Monroe County. Now, you might have heard about the Danforth shooter. His brother had 47 kilograms. That was enough to kill Toronto 328 times over, Canada 58 times over, and 1.2 billion people. I made a Freedom of Information request to see if Monroe County keeps track of carfentanil as an entity unto itself. I spent 4 months trying to find it out. I finally got a response back. I'm not a doctor, Mr. Van Sistronk, or whatever. You listen to me as a doctor. I'm not an MD. But what happens is that we in Monroe County consider that as an other analog, another fentanyl that's not classified. So in the overdose that happened on Merriman Street, 69 on February of 26th of this year, 1 female and 2 males were overcome. We will never know if carfentanil was involved. If carfentanil was involved, here is the proper response to it. Do you see, I showed this to you before. So maybe you legislatures can go and make a law. Why don't you make a law that Monroe County has to keep track of carfentanil? Otherwise, we can just sweep it under the rug and we never know as a population what danger we're in. But it really doesn't do any good for me to talk to you because you're not the general public. I'm going to go to every town that will hear me, and I hope that thousands of people in my place will ask, what is going on?
Good evening. Bridget Hurley from the Children's Agenda, and I am here tonight to present a request for an update on the county's Child Protective Services Reform Plan that was released last fall. We're about 7 months into implementation, and I know there are lots of folks in the community, not just the Children's Agenda, who are looking for an update on all the 8 points that were announced in the fall. We know some things. I know that there have been caseworkers hired. I know there were tablets distributed. I know there were some renovations at Family Court, that there's been some recruitment. So I know there's been activity to report, and I think others need to hear that as well. So I'm here to suggest that. What most of the community has heard is that the FAR program was discontinued, and that the county's request for a local hotline was rejected. I also know that there are rumors of continued low morale among CPS caseworkers and still lots of overworked caseworkers. So again, I'm just here to request that a report from either the county executive or the county legislature on how we are progressing on the CPS 8-point reform plan would be a really positive contribution to the community right now. Thank you.
Our last speaker this evening is Dan McDonald.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here on my second anniversary of coming to you about this procedure, but I'm glad I understand that there has been some progress and that the county executive has initiated like a points program finally for veteran-owned businesses. So I thank you very much for that. However, I do have some questions about it that I'm hoping to get some answers. I unfortunately have not had a chance to write them up. I hope that my understanding with this program, that there will be some actual implementation, and that I hope that the legislature and the county executive will put something out so that there's some questions to be answered. I understand it's a point system for contracting. Again, I don't really know how that's going to work out, but I do want to make sure that I wanted to make sure I come tonight to say thank you, and that is, you only climb, you don't get to the top of the ladder without stepping on the first rung. From what I read, and I did read it, there's a lot to be worked on upon it. It is a step forward. So again, thank you. And as we saw tonight, we saw many of our heroes that came back from World War II, as well as we're teaming up our youth with our veterans. Let's not stop with that. I know I have the proud announcement to make that I just had my first Air Force veteran start on Monday. So now I've completed the circle within our business, and we're working forward to hiring more of our veterans with the VOC. So again, I just want to say thank you, and please continue to honor us, or show us the bravery that we showed you. Thank you.
This concludes the public forum.
We will now proceed with the consideration of local laws. Will the clerk read the next item on the agenda?
Agenda item number 1, referral 18-0221 LL.
Moved by legislator Taylor, seconded by legislators Terp and Delahanty. This is for introductory purposes only. Next item.
Item number 2, referral 18-0221 LL.
Moved by legislator Taylor, seconded by legislators Terp and Delahanty. This is a motion to table. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 3, referral 18-0221 LL.
Moved by legislator Taylor, seconded by legislators Terp and Delahanty. This is to set the public hearing. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item. We will now proceed with the consideration of motions, resolutions, and notices. Will the clerk read the next item on the agenda?
Item number 4, referral 18-0180.
Moved by legislator DeFlorio, seconded by legislator Ansello. This is a motion to lift from the table. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 5, referral 18-0180.
Moved by legislator DeFlorio, seconded by legislator Ansello. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 6, referral 18-0188.
Moved by legislator Bruce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is a motion to lift from the table. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 7, referral 18-0188.
Moved by legislator Bruce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 8, referral 18-0188 BR.
Moved by legislator Bruce, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 9, referral 18-0208.
Moved by legislator Turp, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is a motion to lift from the table. All in favor say aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 10, referral 18-0208.
Moved by legislator Turp, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 11, referral 18-0213.
Moved by legislator Michiki, seconded by legislator Zale and Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 12, referral 18-0214.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 13, referral 18-0214BR.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 14, referral 18-0215.
Moved by legislator Howland, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 15, referral 18-0216.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 16, referral 18-0217.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. And before any discussion, I am in receipt of a memo from the county CFO. I have asked my staff to distribute this memo to each legislator at this time.
Thank you.
This memo has already been submitted to the clerk of the legislature and will be recorded as a read and file in the next legislative cycle and be part of the official public record of the legislature. I would like to ask the administration to give a brief explanation of this memo before we begin discussion.
Mr. President, thank you. Mr. President, I would suggest that the memo is pretty self-explanatory. In addition to the reasoning addressed in the memo, I would only like to add that the format of the referral submission and resulting legislative resolution is in the form that is customarily presented to this body for any erroneous assessment, correction, and cancellation. However, Mr. President, that was not exactly the original intent of our referral and resolution. The original intent was simply to address the county taxes. Since, Mr. President, the referral and resolution is not congruent with the original intent, rather than belabor this legislative process, we would like to instead to have this referral and resolution no longer see the light of day.
Thank you. Majority Leader Marionetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. One question through you to the administration. If there are any requests for further information or questions after tonight's meeting from anyone from this body on this item, would we be able to receive responses to those questions?
Absolutely, Mr. President.
All right. Mr. President, based on that and the recommendation from the CFO, I will move to table this item.
Moved to table by Legislator Marionetti, seconded by Legislator Conley. All in favor of the tabling motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Tabling motion carries. Next item.
Item number 17, referral 18-0218.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 18, referral 18-0219.
Moved by legislator Zale, seconded by legislator Delahanty. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, item carries. Next item.
Item number 19, referral 18-0220.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 21, referral 18-0223.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Hebert. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the administration, I just would like to ask, why is this considered a matter of urgency and not going through the regular committee process?
Through you, Mr. President, the reason for the matter of urgency is twofold. One is that all labor agreements come to this body as matter of urgencies, and twofold is that unless we have legislative approval this evening, the raise will not be allowed to appear in the employees' paychecks on Friday, and we would very much like to give them the raise on Friday.
And Mr. President, I would just like to say that the former reason is not compelling, but the second reason I think is compelling, and of course I find that to be compelling indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Legislator Morelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just rise to explain my vote. I will be voting in favor of this. Encourage everybody to do so as well. I think that the members of this union have gone far too long without contracts, and I think it behooves us to move this forward and really show that the people who do some of the toughest work in Monroe County really deserve our attention and deserve to be paid well and deserve the benefits that they receive here. So with that, I will be voting in the affirmative. Thank you, Mr. President.
Legislator Mafucci.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the administration, since I haven't had a chance really to review the agreement, is the pay retroactive? Is there retroactive pay?
Through you, through the President, the county does not agree to contracts with retroactive pay. The pay rate is effective July 1 because the agreement was signed in June, although the vote was not until late in July.
Just for clarifying, through you, thank you, Mr. President, through the administration. So if I'm hearing that correctly, they will not be paid additional wages from July 1st till now.
Through the President, the 2018 raise takes place July 1st, so in the paycheck on Friday, there will be compensation going back to July 1st as well as the pay rate going forward.
Through the President to the administration, thank you very much. That's what I would have expected. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Next item.
Item number 22, referral 18-0224.
Moved by legislator Delahanty, seconded by legislator Zale. This is to adopt. Is there any discussion? Legislator Baroth.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to the administration, I would just like to ask, why is this considered a matter of urgency?
Through you, Mr. President, at the request of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, they asked this piece of this referral and the contracts be brought to you as a matter of urgency. Largely due to timing, they have expressed an interest to have these in place in order to take advantages of the services offered so that they can continue hiring and make preparations and bring people on board for upcoming academies.
through the President to the administration, are we not on a month-to-month contract currently?
Through you, Mr. President, it's not exactly a month-to-month contract in so much as that there's an authorization for a dollar amount to be for services provided, and that money is quickly drying up, and it would be insufficient in order to provide these services for an academy class.
Thank you. And through the administration, through the President to the administration, and when is the next academy class due to be reviewed?
Through the President, we're reviewing the current police academy at this time right now. It'll conclude at the end of September. And then within the next 2 weeks, we'll be starting a jail academy, which will conclude in November. So that process takes several months, and we're already started and have a long way to go.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Legislator Flagler Mitchell.
President, just through you to the administration, this referral, well, I just want to make a motion. I would like the motion that we table this and let it go through the regular committee process.
Tabling motion made by Legislator Flagler Mitchell, seconded by Legislator Harris. We'll go to a roll call vote.
Mr. Marinetti?
No.
Ms. Cayley? Yes. Mr. Elkoffer? No. Mr. Ansello? No. Mr. Baroth? Yes. Ms. Boyce is excused. Mr. Brew? No. Mrs. Conley? No. Mr. Delahanty? No. Mrs. DeFlorio? No. Mrs. Draw? Mr. Felder? Yes. Mr. Flagler Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Harris? Mr. Hebert?
No.
Mr. Howland?
No.
Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes.
Mr. Mafucci?
Yes.
Mr. Michike? Mr. Morelli?
Yes.
Mr. Moyo?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
No.
Mr. Shepard?
Yes.
Ms. Taylor? No. Mr. Terp?
No.
Mr. Wilcox?
Yes.
Mr. Wilt?
No.
Mr. Zal?
No.
President Carbone?
No.
11 to 17, tabling motion failed.
Any further discussion on the original referral? All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Should we go to a roll call vote?
Mr. Marinetti?
Yes.
Ms. Cayley? No. Mr. Elkoffer? Mr. Ansello? Yes. Mr. Baroth? No. Ms. Boyce is excused. Mr. Brew? Yes. Mrs. Conley? Yes. Mr. Delahanty?
Yes.
Mrs. DeFlorio? Yes. Mrs. Draw?
Yes.
Mr. Felder?
No.
Mr. Flagler Mitchell?
No.
Ms. Harris? Mr. Hebert?
Yes.
Mr. Howland?
Yes.
Mr. Lightfoot?
No.
Mr. Mafucci?
No.
Mr. Michike? Mr. Morelli?
No.
Mr. Moyo? Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Mr. Shepard?
No.
Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Terp?
Yes.
Mr. Wilcox?
No.
Mr. Wilt?
Yes.
Mr. Zal?
Yes.
President Carbone?
Yes.
Passes 17 to 11.
There being no unfinished business, Legislator Marianetti.
Stand adjourned until 6 p.m. Tuesday, September 11, 2018.